So, very good morning, church. So, today I want to go into Luke chapter 1, verse 5 to 7, and I'm going to speak on Zacharias and his wife Elizabeth again. And it says in verse 1, verse 5, it says, "There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the division of Abijah. His wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. But they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both well advanced in years." You know, last Sunday I spoke about Zacharias and I spoke about like a fault or like a weakness of his. But today I want to talk about a strength that I see. You know, Zacharias and Elizabeth were both diligent servants of the Lord. If you go into the before verse, it says they were both righteous, keeping all the commandments of God. They were consistent, they were diligent. But you see, one thing that Elizabeth and Zacharias didn't have a child. That must have been such a discouragement for them. They must have been longing, they must have been broken because of it. But they didn't allow that to discourage them from serving the Lord regularly or diligently. You know, I don't know about you, but I don't think I fall in that category. If something goes wrong, or like suppose for example, let's say that in my exam I didn't get good marks, I'll be like, God, why didn't you show up? Why weren't you faithful then? You could have given me good marks, no? And I'll be so disappointed. So many times when things don't work our way, we allow that discouragement to come in the way of our worship to God. Many times we allow our circumstances to define our service and our worship to God. But over here we see Elizabeth and Zacharias, their circumstances did not define their service and their faithfulness to serve God. You know, that's the amazing thing. We can never base our worship and our obedience to God based on our circumstances. Because one day we'll be obedient, one day we won't be. But if we base our service to God and our obedience to Him based on who He is, we will be able to walk faithfully. Because God will always be worthy. God will always be holy. And He will always be sovereign over all. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, do we worship God based on our circumstances, or do we worship Him for who He is and who He is alone? Let us be people who are diligent in our worship, who are diligent in our obedience to Him. You know, in Galatians 6 verse 9 it says, "Do not grow weary of doing good, for in due season you will reap the harvest if you do not lose heart." You see, Zacharias and Elizabeth, they served God faithfully, and in due season God blessed them with a child. So God is a God who blesses. We don't have to worship Him and obey Him in hoping He will bless us. He will naturally bless us. Our job is to faithfully worship Him, to faithfully obey Him, not for things but for who He is, because our God is worthy. Amen.